wisely, and a big challenge for us. Without question, Boise is one of the top teams, not only in our conference, but around the country. And so we're excited about playing them. Certainly appreciate the national exposure. But a big, tall challenge for us as well. Our guys have worked hard. We're on the bend somewhat. I think we're healthier than what we've been, but we're still nicked up to a certain degree. We'll look forward to playing Boise come Saturday night. So at this time, I know we have some questions online via telephone, so I'll open up to the people who have called in.
This is Lou Freeman and Cody.
Yes, Lou.
Coach, can you say, given this nearing the end of your first season in Wyoming, have you come across things that have surprised you about the fan interest at different parts around the state? Because there is no other college, there is no other pro team, so you're essentially Wyoming's team in football. Have you sensed that? Have you had feedback from different parts of the state that tell you that?
Well, we certainly have, and what's interesting, I was given some information by our board of trustees. They talk about areas of country where football is important. I believe there was a significant article ran in the New York Times in Wyoming. It had a large amount of interest all across the state, and so we are the University of Wyoming. We have one team in the state, and you see Steamboat proudly displayed all around our state.
The Boise State the last couple of weeks, defensively has gotten off to slow starts. They've given us some big leads the last couple of weeks. But what have you seen them for adjustment-wise? Because they've really, second half against New Mexico and then against San Diego State really clamped down. What have you seen from them film-wise, defensively, to allow them to do that?
Well, I think first of all they're well coached, and you can always see that by how coaches adjust during the course of a game. It's easy to, I don't want to say easy to compose a game plan, but as you implement some things, where I really see the coaches taking the next step is once that game plan has been shown in the first half, what coaching staff does the best job of changing? Because coaches typically just don't say we're going to do the exact same thing next week. There's always nuances, wrinkles, and then also there comes a play where you've got to adjust the speed of the game and the physicality, and so I think Boise's done a great job. New Mexico, I know, runs a complicated offense, and I thought they responded well. And then last week, I thought Boise really did a great job in the second half against San Diego State. San Diego State, put up a lot of points in the first half, and boy, they really did a great job clamping down. And I think a lot of it, their players play with a great deal of passion and confidence, and then their coaches do a nice job of adjusting.
It seems like the Boise offense has really come along, but they're really sticking. I mean, you've seen good running backs this year, but how big of a test will this be with Ajayi? He seems to be running extremely hard right now, like he's been all season. Just how big of a test is it going to be to slow him down this weekend?
Well, big test. What their offense is able to do, they have the element of the quarterback run in that. Anytime you have that in there, now you're defending an 11th hat. Ajayi certainly combines strength, explosion, his yardage. Is very. You see what you get when you're playing against him on tape. He can make people miss. He can run over you, and they do a nice job blocking up front. And so you got a team that's able to throw the ball. You've got a team that has a quarterback that can run the ball. He's elusive, and then you have an excellent tailback in Ajayi, and those are components of a very challenging offense, and their numbers bear that out.
Are you feel satisfied with what you've been able to do there now in your first year as far as getting your philosophy and your ideas into the program?
I think we laid some portions of a foundation thus far. We have 2 regular season games, and hopefully we're going to play more. We take them one at a time. It's important that we see improvement from our last game, utilizing the bye week, and to coming in and playing a talented Boise team. Are we happy with where we're at? No. I mean, we're going to strive to push. The thing that we have found, and I knew this when we first took the job, is that when you're implementing an offense and a defense that's, quite frankly, significantly different from how they were playing before, sometimes the foundational things of an adjustment or a tweak in a blocking scheme, there is no foundation there. And so we have to be mindful of that. I venture to say you won't find many coaches around the country that say, yeah, we're kind of happy with where we're at. You're not in this profession if you're not going to be, aggressive and always pushing the envelope. And so we're pleased with our progress, but we're not happy.
Okay.
For the people who are present today.
Craig, how is the health of this team? I see Riley on the depth chart. I don't see Sonny or Jesse. Can you give just an update of where things stand now?
Riley will play. Sonny, I would say, is that's going to be more like a game time decision. He's still not practicing. And Jesse has had a season-ending surgery, so he will no longer play.
Coach, obviously going into senior day game, just what is this group of seniors meant? Where you've talked about it before, but embracing a new coaching staff with all the changeover, having them buy in, having them be a part of this team.
Really pleased, and that's a big challenge on these guys' parts. It's their last year of college football. Some may have an opportunity to play professional football, but by and large, most of them, their career is going to be concluded. And so, for them to get adjusted to a new style of play, a whole group of new coaches. We've been pleased with the buy-in, and I think that's why you still see our football team at the tail end of games still scrapping. And I know this is we had a really great practice on Saturday, and those seniors certainly led the charge. And so I personally will forever be indebted to those guys that are out there competing for us, and I want to say thanks to them.
Do you think they're also going to be key in these last two games, Craig? As you mentioned earlier, you want to continue to improve, show progress, but if you're getting it from your seniors, because it's probably been a long season, maybe some of these younger guys are tired or whatever, do you think it's going to be important to see that, especially from your seniors, to have it trickle down?
There's certainly a maturity factor that comes into play when you're a senior. You know what, your, I guess, intestinal fortitude or whatever, guts. And, when you're an older guy, you're going to kind of gut it out. Where sometimes when you're younger, you're thinking all these things. Well, it's cold outside, and I have this. It's a long season. We've certainly been pleased with our seniors, the senior captains that we have, and then the other senior leaders. And so they're working hard. And I think the fruits of their labor and their effort has had an impact on our younger guys, and their leadership has certainly been good. And that'll need to come into play come Saturday night.
Coach, Eddie, of course, has been one of the leaders of this defense, and it seems like in the last maybe 3 or 4 weeks, he's really broken out as far as sacks and those really disruptive plays. Have you seen anything different from him, or is it just kind of getting his feel in the defense, or is there any explanation, I guess, for him? It seems like really stepping up the last month or so.
Combinations of a couple things. One, he's becoming more comfortable in the system. He practices with a great deal of effort and energy. He has gotten stronger in the weight room. His number of repetitions, and we track all that, his workload during practice. He's able to withstand a lot, and so I think there's a combination. He's getting stronger. He's becoming much more comfortable in our scheme. And then other people, some guys, during the course of the season, their strength level drops down. They become somewhat stagnant, and that's not been the case with Eddie. And if you saw him practice, he practices 100 miles an hour. He may practice as hard as any player that I've ever had the opportunity to be around. And so that effort is really having an impact on his performance.
Craig, you mentioned the quarterback for Boise, his ability to run. I know early in the season they benched him. I think it was the Air Force game where he had a lot of turnovers, but since then he's been on fire, completion and running. Has the running helped him a little bit, or what's changed? Because he's been one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league. And
I watched that Air Force game, and sometimes you have a bad night, and for whatever reason, but Hedrick, I think, is an outstanding quarterback. He's able to throw the ball deep. He throws it short. He's able to run. He competes, makes good decisions, and he's done an excellent job leading that offense. And being an old defensive coordinator, I know this, is when that quarterback's playing well, it's hard. That call sheet you have gets a whole lot harder. And if that guy's out of his rhythm and is not playing very well, it's pretty easy to call defenses. And right now, Grant is playing extremely well at the quarterback spot, and they're putting up a lot of points. I'm not saying it's all because of him, but he certainly had a big factor in their success.
Coach, one senior that Coach Standard seems to have singled out is Devin Harris, as far as a guy who just seems to be willing to do anything you guys ask him to do, switching over to nickel Mike at times. So what have you seen from him just as far as his willingness to do whatever for this program?
Well, I think Coach Standard hit the nail on the head. He's a guy that he's always up there on his own watching tape. He's a student of the game. He's played several different positions, gotten himself acclimated in his position. And not every day in practices have been perfect, but if he does make a mistake, he wants to know what he can do differently to make sure he doesn't make it again. He's been an excellent leader, and he's been a guy that we've really valued and we've leaned on a great deal, because if you look, I want to say that spot has been decimated by injuries, but that core, kind of like in baseball where you got to be strong up the middle, you got to be strong up the middle in football, whether it's your interior defensive line, linebackers, or safeties. We've had a rash of injuries through there, and Devin's been a solid guy that's been able to adapt and play a whole lot of spots, so we want to say thanks for his efforts.
Coach, Ajayi over his career at Boise has had fumble issues. Will that be a point of emphasis maybe on Saturday, maybe to strip the ball a little more?
Yeah. We work on that every week, whether a guy's got great ball security or not. Certainly, if we pick up some things where we see somebody flagging the ball, we'll note that, but we make an effort and to have our guys actively strip during practice. And sometimes it can cause some disruption because guys get slung around and stuff like that, but we're going to work really hard on that. But I will say, whether Ajayi's had some issues in the past or not, we work on that hard, whoever we're playing.
Coach, back to